Hello, welcome to Sugar, Silk and Stretch, a unique boxing podcast brought to you exclusively by Ace Podcast Nation. My name's Ben Doughty.
My name is Michael Silko Lajide.
I've got to tell you, Silk, I don't like the ident. It's almost over too quickly, isn't it? I think it needs to be about 3 seconds longer or 2 seconds. The way it's not doing it for me. I don't know if you got any strong feelings about it.
It doesn't establish. What do you feel? It doesn't establish our presence.
It just feels a little bit. I think the older one we had with Ali on it was better and it was longer. But
you visually you enjoyed it more. Basically, is what you're saying.
well, we've got to be careful using Muhammad Ali's image. I think we should break out of that shadow, immense shadow though it is, and use our own stuff. But somewhere, I'm still not happy with it. But you know what? We came here to talk boxing. We're hoping to be joined by Gary Stretch as ever shortly, but we've got a new policy. We don't wait for the other one. If two of us are here, we get on with it because two out of three ain't bad, as Meatloaf once noted. You wanted to this week. There's been press conferences in New York City, your hometown, your place of residence. Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, a lot of trash talk, Silk, a lot of kind of batting it back and forth, beating the drum for the big April the 20th fight. Have you been paying attention to the pressers?
I really haven't been paying as much attention as I should. But having said that, I think this is going to be an exciting fight. I mean, these guys, I like generally those things are so tired and they're so, they're not very exciting. But for some reason, this one makes it a little bit more exciting. I think maybe it's the fact that they're youthful. They have a different type of energy. Like they don't appear to me like grown men having an immature, silly argument about something.
That's interesting. So you basically what you're saying, perhaps even on a visceral level, you can take that kind of histrionics from younger men because it's a more young man trait. You find it harder to buy the more long in the tooth the fighter gets. Once he passes the big 3-0, you feel it's a little bit childish and beneath the fighters, whereas boys will be boys.
Yeah. Exactly. You should have a sense of maturity and acceptance of where you are in life and what you do, and to have like quabbles. I think that's why I see when I see a lot of fighters' fathers get into it with another fighter.
Oh.
That's like that. I have a detachment from that. It just seems so ridiculous. It's like you have a 40, 50-year-old man arguing with a 23-year-old kid about boxing, and I don't know, it's just about an upcoming fight, and the father who is saying, well, we're gonna this and we're gonna that and we're gonna, you know what I mean? I'm just like, come on now, it's just so it's warped to me. There's just something warped about it. I don't know, I don't get it. How do you feel about that?
I think I agree with you. It's embarrassing and it's become quite ubiquitous lately. I mean, obviously John Fury, I don't want to talk about John Fury and Big Joe fucking Egan, right? But I'll just mention the names just so I can establish what I don't want to talk about them. It's embarrassing. It's older guys begging for a platform, some relevance, some excitement, some money, an opportunity to earn some money. And it's fucking contemptible. It really is, And it's a shame our friend Tim Witherspoon was... Well, Tim needs a buck like everybody else, and he didn't do well out of his career ultimately in terms of, he's not set up in any way of wealth. But Tim had a little bit of an argument with Joe Egan years ago, one of these kind of meet and greet type things. And Tim has said, oh, why don't you fight me, Joe? And I get why Tim is calling him out as well and trying to get in on the act. But I said to Tim that I think, it's a shame because he's above that. You know what I mean? We're talking about, a fine fighter.
I'm sorry, who's Tim?
Witherspoon.
Oh, yeah. Tim Witherspoon. But who was he arguing with?
Joe Egan.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
You know what? Well, you're blessed, Silk. The fact you live in a little bubble called Planet Alargide, it has its pros and cons. And sometimes I think a lot of the time it has pros. Because listen, I don't want to get into Joe Egan, but he's this guy, right? Who he sparred with. Some people are good at marketing themselves, right? He sparred with Mike Tyson years ago. He was an amateur, not a bad amateur. He turned pro, had about 4 fights, and then his career finished. So he was no great shakes as a pro. And he wasn't a great amateur either, but he did okay. But he used to spar with Mike Tyson in the early days at the Catskills, young Mike Tyson, up-and-coming Mike Tyson. Mm-hmm. And apparently Mike Tyson one time said, Joe Egan is the toughest white man on the planet. And he has dined out on that description. That tag follows him around. It'll be written on his head zone. And it's just, you know what I mean? it's I don't know. It's contemptible, is what it is. So Tim had an argument with him because the thing with Joe is he goes to all these big meet and greets and poses alongside the legends and gets right in these pictures. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, Tim objected to why they were taking pictures or where the pictures were going or whether they're being used for revenue because there was a proper photographer doing it. And Tim wanted to know. I think Tim wanted to know what they were for and where the money was going, whatever. And they got into an argument about it. George Chavallo was there. If you watched the video too, don't know where it was. And at some point, Joe Egan said to him, "You don't have a problem, do you?" And he said, and Tim's like, "No, I just want to know X, Y, Z." And he's like, "Well, don't be shaping up then." And he's calling Tim out, like it's going to get into a bit of a situation there and then. It was years ago, but what's my point? Like I said, I said to Tim, that is beneath you. Getting involved in that slanging match between John Fury and Joe Egan. It's just so. If that is what it comes down to, this boxing thing, then there has to be come a point when we abandon ship. So I agree with you. It's embarrassing. Like you say, fathers like John Fury, Angel Garcia, was that Danny Garcia's dad's name? He was another one. They're just these huge mouthpieces, right? Bill Haney is a bit like that, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's I saw Bill Haney go at Garcia before too, and I don't know. It just seems there's just something very awkward or uncomfortable or just it's like displacements. Like, what are you even doing there? I understand you're his trainer. I understand you love your kid and you want to protect him, but what you've done is you've trained your kid so he could protect himself, and so let that happen.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, Chris Eubank Sr. used to keep a very close eye on every interview his son did at press conferences. There'd be a journalist from whatever platform, newspaper or channel, whatever, interviewing Junior, and Senior will be there with his ear like this, just waiting, listening to hear all his responses. Then at some point he decided his son was growing enough that he didn't need him to do that anymore, and he stopped sharing the stage with him a little bit. And he said he's built now, and he doesn't need that kind of mentorship anymore. But he was very hands-on at first,
Yeah. No, I mean, I understand that too. Sometimes, the press can ask questions that are a little untoward or a little bit
leading.
I don't know, something that the fighter, the son may not comprehend and get, and you want to kind of cultivate them and everything. But hey, listen, how bad could it be? It's just, he's going to have his answer and he's going to have to do it in the ring, whatever it is that,
Yeah. I mean, what I've noticed is when I look at it, I haven't watched the press conferences this week. I've seen little updates on Twitter, X, right? They call it X today, but we all still call it Twitter. And I've had I've seen some of the allegations been made. I know that they've been making a big deal out of a sparring video, which Ryan supposedly leaked, which is a sparring video when Haney was younger and he's sparring with Gervonta Davis.
And that's the one I sent you, right?
Well, you sent me one. When?
Yeah, today.
What?
I sent it to you earlier. You didn't know who sent it to you?
Well, how did you send it? In a WhatsApp group?
I think I sent it either on, was it Instagram or was that I think it was Instagram.
I'll have to look at that because I didn't get it from you actually. No, but I'll have to look at how you sent it and make sure that you definitely did do that. I need to check that, before I sign off on that claim. Course, but where they're all shouting and heckling in the Mayweather gym, and it looks like some kind of like fight at a fun fair or something, and but what I've noticed generally, regardless of that sparring session, I mean, by the way, talking about the sparring session, to me, that's not a professional environment when you've got everybody standing in the ring and all shouting, right, and they're trying to decapitate each other. I think I know American gyms are a little bit more colourful and spicy, but we don't do it like that over here. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, we absolutely do it like that in the States. Oh, it's 100%. It's on. Like even when you're not even at that level. I know when there are guys that are just not even local amateurs. They get in the ring and they go at it with each other, and guys are yelling from the ringside and getting all excited when
lame, right?
And it's not even remotely aesthetically beautiful what they're doing, but just the fact that they're trying and everyone's like, oh my God, and they're just blowing up and making it more than what it is. They bring the drama, and that only makes things more heated between the two fighters. And I mean, that's all a part of the ritual. But that kind of stuff is silly in the gym. You know what I mean? It's like fighters will settle it, and it is what it is. But Ryan Garcia absolutely. I'm sorry, Ryan Garcia. Gervonta was definitely waxing him.
He was, and that waxing. That happens, So people say it means nothing. I don't think it means nothing, but it's not the be all and end all. I would say.
Oh, it absolutely means something. If they were to get into an actual professional competitive fight, that's going to stay in Devin Haney's mind going into the fight, and that could very well, cause him to work harder, better, more intelligent in preparing for the fight, and it could also at the same time be a psychological block. This blockade that's going to prevent him from being able to win the fight. I tend to think it would make no difference no matter what either one of them how they prepared, because Gervonta Davis' style is exactly that, and that's not the kid's style. Is what Gervonta Davis does is what the kid likes to do, and he just doesn't do it as good. He doesn't have the time. He doesn't have the ability to go he likes to go forward no matter what. He feels more comfortable keeping it at range, and Gervonta is excellent at range and likes to go forward as well. So I think it would be more or less the same. He'd end up running him over for sure. And not only that, Devin Haney doesn't have the power to keep him off. I don't think Gervonta respects him like that.
I think very highly of Tank, and when people tell me Shakur will beat him or Devin will beat him, I don't agree in either case. Yeah. I'm like you. I'm Team Davis, and there's no. Do you know what, Michael? There's no hero worship. Obviously, there's no character bias. I don't particularly care for him one way or the other. Some people, everything's coloured by their personal feelings all the time. Like they either hate Gervonta Davis because he's a woman beater, or he's a little uneducated little hood, with covered in tattoos and full of ego, or else they like him for whatever reason, Joe, because he's a brilliant boxer, or they like that kind of hip hop, kind of badass thing. Yeah. I couldn't care less for his personality, and I'm not interested in what he does when he clocks off. I just think he's a brilliant boxer and a great puncher. And I think he'll beat anybody within reasonable range of him. So
Yeah. You look at his in terms of his ability, and he's one of those kids that rate high. He's kind of like off the charts in terms of his ability.
I think so. And I know Shakur is a really special fighter too. Or looks to be a special fighter, and Devin is doing all the right things right now. Although I think Lomachenko beat him, But I'm with you on that. I want to answer this question from a fellow who's represented here simply as G. When he says, he asked me, am I still involved with the Times Boxing Club? I'd like to clear it up. I've never really been involved with the Times Boxing Club. I've only been there once in my life. It's in King's Cross, London, or it used to be in York Way. I went there once and I took a kid from the youth offending team there because one of his things on his referral order is he said he wanted to take up boxing. I was at the Angel Boxing Club, which may be where the confusion comes from, which is not too far from there, just about a left hook away, as Reg Gutteridge used to say. But and I coached at the Repton. He mentioned the Repton too when he says a lot of Repton's our best boxing club in the country by repute, right, Michael? It's historically the glamour club, the glamour amateur boxing club in the whole of Great Britain, or certainly the whole of England, is Repton. And he says Repton seems to be losing their best hopefuls at the moment because of their head coach. But anyway, somebody wants to talk about Zhang and Parker. We will talk about that. But what I was going to say to you before we got sidetracked was that
you got sidetracked. I didn't. I was waiting.
Yeah. So what I was going to say to you is I've got less interest in watching these press conferences nowadays, and I don't really care who said what. You know what? When obviously, probably because I was younger and because the content was more scarce, you couldn't just turn it on your phone or whatever. But when I saw Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns do a press conference, that really seemed to have some majesty. Or Marvin Hagler and Roberto Duran or Ray Leonard. I wanted to hung on every word they said, and you could recite it, what they said word for word at the day sometimes, because it really seemed important then. Has the world changed or have I changed?
The words just seem like what they say just seems so insignificant and irrelevant and like paltry, very thinly veiled. Like their insults are just, I don't know. There's nothing creative about them, and there's nothing that they're saying that intrigues me. You know what I mean? But generally, that's the way I feel about people going into press conferences. It's just like the guys, like somebody said to him, you know what? Just insult them because we want to generate more ticket sales and interest to the fight. So we got to make sure you guys look angry at each other and all that kind of stuff. But in this fight coming up, it does seem to me like there's a lot more of that youthful energy towards it. You know, like you get two lions that aren't fully fledged lions yet. Like the mane they don't have their full manes yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They may be very talented, the both of them, but they don't have their full manes yet. And they're trying to settle something, and that'll maybe help them get there to that maturity stage. But that's the kind of fight this is, like youthful males that are not fully experienced, but they're going to put in the work. And I think it's a real competitive fight. How do you see this fight going?
Well, I think it's going to be an acid test to Brian Garcia. That's an interesting comment, by the way, but I took it away because your question had nothing to do with it, and I didn't want to distract anybody. But because I like the way Garcia will get in the ring and fight these guys. You know, he stepped up and fought Tank, you know, and got the worst of it, obviously, but made a lot of money. And people still saying he's just he's a media creation. He's had that argument leveled against him, and for some people the jury's still out. And it's great the way he's ready to step into another big blockbuster fight with Devin Haney. Yeah. If he loses, I do wonder where he has to go, depending on how he loses and the nature of that loss. I think most people expect that he will lose. This is an acid test.
Why do they think he'll lose? Right? Why do you think he'll lose? Why do you think he'll lose?
I didn't say he will, but what I'm saying is that Haney will be the betting favourite, no question.
Yeah, but what do you think?
So the world and the industry will expect him to lose.
I understand.
I haven't thought about it a great deal yet. The fight's not till April 20th. I don't have
at this stage, like just going off your instinct. What do you think?
Haney.
You think Haney? And
more complete, solid fighter. Garcia's a bigger puncher with his left hook.
What's more complete? What's more complete about him than?
He doesn't have the fault. He's a better boxer all round than Garcia. Garcia's very athletic, great punch with his left hook, very quick, very flashy, you know, with his combination punching. But I think he has holes in it defensively. He's not so great. I saw that shoulder roll last time out, which looked really bizarre, like literally turning his back on the guy. I just think he's a smoother, more cultivated boxer in general, Haney. And I think that unless Devin puts a hurt on him and knocks him out, I would expect Devin to outbox him for the most part for 12 rounds, or maybe even stop him down the stretch.
So you think that Devin can knock him out, Devin Haney?
I guess anybody can knock somebody out if they grind them down enough. I don't see him taking them out in one shot. No.
Yeah. Do you see him beating him down over 12 rounds?
Haney, yeah.
Yeah, you do see him beating Garcia down.
I can picture it. Yeah, like I say, it's a bit early.
I have a hard time seeing that. I think that that Garcia, you know, for all the stuff he does, you know, for popularity or whatever it is, that he has a really quick reflex, and yes, he has that power that goes along with it, and you know, I mean, he talks a lot and he acts confident, and I'm sure he is confident in his abilities, and the fact is, Devin Haney is one of the guys that's going to have to. I don't know if he can easily shut that confidence down like the way Tank could. I just can't see it happening. I can't see him walking Garcia down or walking into that fire. You know what I mean? It's really a tightly contested fight as far as I'm concerned right now.
Who's Garcia ever beat? You know, Haney has a CV.
It doesn't even come to that. I'm sure there are people that Garcia beat that in his mind or that have ability. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm sure he's beaten guys that may not be like two-time division world champions or anything like that. I don't know that much about him. All I look at him and I look at his ability and I say, yeah, this kid is able. He is absolutely able and capable of beating Devin.
So if the fight was happening tomorrow, this weekend, you'd be picking him?
I'd be 50-50 on this fight.
Okay.
I wouldn't be
I was hoping, see, you were really leaning far forward, and now you just lay back again. Because if you just said yes, I'd have said, sure, I'll have some of that silk. I'll have some of that. Haney's going to
you
beat
know
him.
what? I think when it comes time to, listen. When I look at fighters, and I kind of like try to see how they would match up together, looking at their reflexes and their abilities and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But I don't. I just for some reason, Haney, he just doesn't get it for me. I don't know why yet.
He's
The
like
kid is obviously he's in great shape. He's always in great shape. He respects the sport in that way. He's got the tools. You know what I mean? There just seems to be something that I haven't seen yet. That even against Lomachenko, it's like I and the last kid he fought, who was that? The kid he went the distance with, he dropped him late, or was it early? The last kid Haney fought. Come on, Ben.
I forgot as well, but someone could tell us. Everybody's got the internet.
So like, you know what I mean? So we're asking about Garcia, but a lot of the other kid, well, with the exception of,
Well, he beat Cambosis twice. Did a number on him. The man who beat Teofimo Lopez, who beat Lomachenko, etc., etc. He has a more solid resume, certainly. But Julian McGowan's picked up on a good point, which I was about to mention. He says, I was a Garcia fan, but outside struggles, fame, time out, he's not going to beat a Haney. You need two hands and versatility to beat these guys. I was going to pick up on the instability, perhaps in his temperament, Garcia. I think there's issues there. Somebody else picked up on. He said, "What kind of fighter what kind of athlete drinks to lose weight?" Now that I believe relates to. I believe that Garcia is doing some trolling where he's pretending he's smoking and drinking when he's obviously not really doing that. But I don't know how stable or mentally tough Ryan is, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you could make a conscious decision at the level he did against Davis to not continue to fight, Julian McGowan hit it. Thank you, Julian. Progress.
Yeah. I'm glad you're reading the comments as well. Good.
Yeah. But I just don't. I don't know. It's that's a really hard fight for me to call, but the ability of both of these guys together match up, like make it a good fight as far as I'm concerned. I think it makes it competitive. The fact that they both, they have this desire to prove themselves. And again, like I said, they have that youthful energy, these, young lions kind of thing. The full mane hasn't grown in. And it's gonna and because Devin Haney doesn't possess that one punch knockout power, it's going to give Garcia a lot more opportunity than he did against Davis. Davis can crack with any hand.
Yeah, that changes your whole approach to everything.
Yeah, because once somebody like he touched, he touched him up a few times before then, and I know he felt him flinch, and Garcia still was brave to hang in there, and he tried. But once he did get hit, he was like, okay, this isn't it for me. This is not the kind of fighter that I can beat. And maybe he did actually. He consciously called it. It wasn't like, he was concussed. He made that decision.
It was a body shot. It was a body shot, right? So
it was a body shot. He folded. He's like, I'm not going on. He could have got up. Absolutely, without doubt, he could have got up. But I don't know if I do not believe Devin Haney cracks like that. And I think it's really funny that Garcia actually showed the tape of Haney, because Haney was saying, oh, you quit against, Tank. And so Garcia comes back and shows this tape and says, well, look at you against Tank. You know what I mean? You're getting thumped all over the place and you didn't do anything in return. What's different? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And apparently, just for the sake of reference, Tank was 20 at the time and Haney was 16, I believe.
Oh, really? Do you know that for sure?
I don't know it for sure, but it's the second person who said it. G has said it here. My son told me this morning that Tank beat Haney up in sparring when Haney was 16 and Tank was 20. I've heard two people say today that Haney was only 16.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They don't look that distinctly different.
Once again, we could do... if we had a dedicated team like Simon in the back room, he could come up with the facts straight away, couldn't he? But we're on our own here. Even fucking Gary Stretch isn't here yet. and it looks like he may be a no-show.
Yeah.
Someone work it out. Somebody, go on, guys. It won't kill one of you to tell us how old, respectively, are Devin Haney and Tank Davis. But the other point Julian McGowan has made is that Haney was 168 pounds in the ring last time out on the night, which is it's pretty big for a lightweight, right?
Yeah, it is.
Light welterweight.
Yeah, that is that's shocking actually. How do you get up that? Like, what does he look like when he's at 168?
Well, he looks like he looked in the ring, yeah.
That is almost like it's unfeasible.
But it didn't happen in your era, but these days fighters will gain 15 or 20 pounds between a weigh-in and a fight, first bell.
Yeah, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, like, when you put that kind of weight on, that's mass. And did they weigh him going into the ring? Like, what happened?
What it is, they weigh you when you get to the venue, I believe. But you know what, though? Nonito Donaire, who was always listed as putting on incredible amounts of weight from 118 to like 140 and things like that, he said to me that they weigh you with, he said you might weigh you with your jacket and your jeans on and shoes.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly where I'm going with it.
But I need to check that, by the way. That's what Nonito Donaire told me a few years ago.
Yeah.
But Julian
McGowan, you have
your
shoes on. You don't really care if you're going into your change room and all that kind of stuff. You just jump on the scale raw. You got your pants on. You have stuff in your you have stuff in your pockets. You have your hat on. You have a jacket. You ate, of course. You have your shoes on. All the rest of that kind of stuff.
But let's check this before we build this narrative. Let's go with the facts. We need to find out exactly. We need a more updated information on how does that go down when they talk about the in-ring weights or the on the night weights. How are they weighed and what are they wearing? That's what we need to know. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But certainly fighters do put on much more. I mean, I remember Sugar Ray Leonard, name dropping a little bit here, but Sugar Ray Leonard told me he'd only put on 5 or 6 pounds.
Yeah.
6 or 7.
I mean,
from
that's
the same day, from lunchtime to fight night.
Exactly, and it's not like the food is. Food doesn't make that much of a difference, and not only that, before you evacuate everything before you get in the ring as well. So for you to be kind of, you know what I mean, for you to be 30 pounds heavier come fight time, it just doesn't make any logical sense.
Let's say 20 pounds. I think 30 pounds is
okay. Well, 20 pounds. So if he's,
although, do you know what?
Well, you're saying,
if he weighs in at 140 and he comes in at 128, then you're closer with 30 pounds on that occasion.
Thank you.
Yeah, you'll take any victory you can get. I know that. That I know about you. Yeah.
But I do believe. Listen, this is the way I see it. I see Garcia coming out. He's going to be popping a real fast jab. I do not know that that this kid can that he can deal with that. Devin Haney can deal with that jab and those straight punches and the sharpness. I do not think Garcia has good enough head movement to make Haney miss for long. But I see a fight that's at range, and the fight that's at range is going to be a problem for Haney. I think when they fight at range and he doesn't get a chance to put his body on Garcia, that's going to be a problem. He can do that the way he fought Lomachenko. He's not going to be able to fight this kid like that. This is a fight of reflexes, and I think that. But
Lomachenko is a
absolutely. Lomachenko should have played the game of reflexes and pressure, and that's I think what Garcia is going to do. He's going to play the game of reflexes, and he's going to put pressure on him, and that's going to change.
You don't think Lomachenko did that?
You're not going to give him. You're not going to give him. You can't give him the chance to set his feet and choose his pace.
You don't think Lomachenko pressured him? I do. Lomachenko likes going forward.
No.
He doesn't. He's not. He doesn't.
He was still coming. He was still coming around in circles and trying to do all that fancy stuff. All he had to do was Lomachenko has the ability to fight like a more Marvin Hagler-ish type fight, like go towards him, put your head on his chest, go towards him, and everything you're doing, moving forward. He didn't do that. He stayed in the middle. He stayed at a safe range, and that was absolutely Devin Haney's game. Range is his game.
And he still lost. Lomachenko still beat him doing that. He just didn't get the decision.
Well, I don't necessarily agree that
You don't necessarily agree, but
no.
you didn't score the fight. You're just going on your
I
overview. You
didn't score
cannot
the
do it
fight.
that way. You'd be sacked
The
if you did
fight. I
that.
watched the fight, and I thought he gave away the last 2-3 rounds.
But still,
He
you
absolutely should have
honestly.
stepped under pressure. He did some really good things. He did some great things, but he took his foot off the gas, and
But that's still
just like De La Hoya did against Trinidad.
Mayweather.
And
I'm Mayweather, yeah. But that's true, yeah, okay. But De La Hoya still won the fight, I think, even if he took his foot off the gas. But here's the thing:
I do
I
think,
cannot stress
but
it
you're
enough.
leaving the door open for people to
So that's a narrative thing. What I'm telling you is, if you don't score a fight round by round, you cannot tell me with any authority whatsoever who won it, unless it's really obvious. If it's a real clear call, there's certain fights we know who won them.
No, Ben, I think it was obvious. I've seen enough fights to know
Nah, that is the arrogance of a former world-class fighter. I'm sorry,
it's not. It's not arrogance at all. Look at this. I think the most effective punch by either one of those two fighters was Haney's. I believe it was the hook to the body. Like he kept it with the southpaw, and he kept on coming around with the hook to the body that Lomachenko wasn't expecting. And I think that hurt, I think that hurt him. I think that hurt him a couple of times, and I think the judges were scoring a lot more, like they were recognizing that body shot was effective against him.
Well, that's fair enough. Let me ask you something, and answer me honestly. Have you ever scored a fight round by round and got to the end of 12 or 15 rounds and scored it and added up your score?
Ever? I've done it in the past, but generally, I think I definitely know that when I see a fight, I see it clearly. I see it purely on the fact.
No, but you listen. Sometimes if you score any amount of fights for any amount of time, and honestly, these days I don't really, but I used to habitually. You sometimes surprise yourself with what you've got at the end. Sometimes
I think you should say one can surprise himself by when they get to the end. Not me, you may, but that doesn't.
One can be surprised by what you have at the end.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I mean, I believe I look at a fight without bias, even if I like a fighter or not. Like I said, when I look at the fight, I see the energy between them. I don't have my eyes just on one guy. You got to see like I always say, you got to see that energy between the two. You look in between them and you see who's hitting who. You don't just say, okay, he's coming forward, he's scoring points. It's just not right, because he's walking forward doesn't mean he's effectively.
I'm aware of all those arguments about what the fight is scored on and the intangibles and all the rest of it. I've done it 1,000 times. What I'm saying is you have to score round by round to have a truly authoritative opinion on it. It's not good enough. No, I don't care who you are, Roy Jones, Michael Olajide, Ben Doughty, Gary Stretch, Julian McGann, or anybody else. If you don't score it, you can only say, well, it seemed to me, but at the same time, I didn't score it. Because you would be fired as a judge by any commission if you didn't score it properly round by round.
Of course, but look at those guys don't get it right, and they get paid to do that. So for you to say that I would judge it wrong, I don't think. I mean, I haven't yet. I don't think I've ever seen a fight where, as I looked at it and said, okay, I scored that completely wrong. I mean, the fights I think a guy won, I think he won, and I can justify why I think he won.
Yeah, but it's scored on rounds, like I say. So I don't think you're going to have this. You're not going to accept it, but it doesn't matter what your overall impression is. That's a completely different thing. It's not a completely different thing, because they obviously tie in and they run somewhat in tandem, but they are different. They are crucially different, and that is the attention to detail that counts. Because otherwise, you can say, oh, he took his foot off the gas, so he lost. Because you're trying to weigh in the moral implications of De La Hoya suddenly going AWOL for 3 rounds. But if he was so far ahead, I think he was sufficiently ahead, he won the fight anyway. And that's just round by rounds. It was odd that he went walkabouts for the last 3 rounds. I don't know. He was very badly advised by his corner. But I still think he nicked the fight, because you can't take the early rounds away from him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but those early rounds, like I remember he won the first round. I wasn't so sure about the second and third rounds. Like everything after that was it was contested. There was a time when I believe he hurt Devin with a couple of, I believe they were right hands. But he backed him up and hurt him a few times. But Haney came back with the body shots and with that uppercut. And
he's a southpaw, Lomachenko, by the way.
Yeah,
so they may have been left hands, right?
No, he can hit him with a right hand, can he?
Yeah. So you think they were lead hands, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like he does that. He does that, and he baits him with the left and comes with the right a lot.
What, from the southpaw stance? Yeah.
Yes, from southpaw stance.
Okay. Well, he's standing right hand forward.
He's southpaw and he baits with the left and he throws the right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Just checking. Oh, right. So, like I said, I thought he lost the fight. I think most people did, but the three people who counted, and there was three of them on this occasion, went with Haney. So there we go. That's what we're bound by. I think, yeah. I mean, we will do a preview of the fight in April when we are on the verge of it. But your early feeling seems to be quite optimistic for Garcia. I don't quite share that optimism. I think Haney is enough of the full package. I'm not sure about Ryan. I know
you believe that because of his psychology. You believe Haney has a psychological advantage over. You don't believe he has an athletic advantage over him, but you think he has a psychological advantage over him.
I do two things. One is the psychological advantage. Absolutely, yes. And also, there's more to the whole picture, as you know, than athleticism and power and speed and stuff like that. I think the better boxer, the better educated all-round boxer is Haney. That there were some guys, guys like Emil Griffith, for instance, an all-time great, who didn't appear to have anything massively going for them in terms of standout athleticism or one great trait or even two great traits, but they were just so good. The whole package was so good, and they just kept winning. Do you know what I mean? And I think Haney might be a little bit like that, without wishing to compare him to a giant like Emil Griffith. I think Haney is one of those guys. He doesn't do a lot for me, like you say, but it reminds me. Suppose Floyd Mayweather Jr. was a beer.
Yeah, he'd be like
he'd be the non-alcoholic version, wouldn't he? He'd be the bit where they're taking all the stuff that makes it rock out, And I'm talking as a guy in recovery, but.
Yeah. One thing Haney is, and I believe that's probably like his dad helps with that, was the discipline. He's very disciplined. He'll always come in and give 100%. I do absolutely believe that. You know what I mean? Like he comes in, he's done his homework, and he'll lay it on the line, and he'll stick to whatever game plan they've had. I don't know. He has the natural resources that Garcia has, but the mental aspects of it, because he hasn't lost yet, and Garcia, the red flag is he's quit before, so he could quit again. But the thing is, I don't know if Haney is the kind of character that's going to make him quit or put him into that position. You know what I mean? Maybe if Garcia can't get to him at all, like over the first 5 rounds, then it could look bad. But
I think this is obviously an important fight for Ryan Garcia, and I think it could be a fantastic rebounding from the Davis loss and a major calling card that he's arrived. And I don't mind the idea of a guy who wins his first world championship after a devastating loss, like Joe Louis and Max Schmeling kind of thing, but. If he does get beaten comprehensively, I think it's a tough call for the hot property Ryan Garcia, and I think a lot of the people who are saying he's more of a flash in the pan or a media creation and an Instagram star will feel somewhat vindicated by that. So I think it's I feel Haney can lose this fight and come again, and get himself back in the mix. I think if Ryan loses in a way that's not seen to be overly heroic, I think that might be a tough call for Ryan to rebound from that loss.
Yeah, and they're going to call for retirement, and why not? Like, if you cannot be the best in the world, if you can't beat the world champ, then what's the sense of going on? Unless you're just picking up just pocket change. If you're okay with doing that, making you're a career fighter at that point. But a fighter's intent, when a fighter is fighting, and especially when they're a top 10 contender, I mean, you want to be champ. That's the only reason why you're doing it. It's the absolutely only reason why you're doing it, because you want to be the world champ, and not because the champ gets more money or anything. It's that the sense of accomplishment that comes along with being a champ.
Do you know, it's a funny thing, you just reminded me of Terry Marsh, right? Who was IBF light welterweight champion in 1987. And he's more notoriously well known for being charged with the attempted murder of Frank Warren, because Frank Warren got shot in November 1989 outside one of his promotions at the Barking Theatre, right?
Yeah.
Terry was a world champion. He was actually Frank Warren's first world champion from his stable in those relatively young days of his promotional outfit. And he said Terry rose to the top level. He became an IBF world champion. He defended it once, and then he retired in rather controversial circumstances, claiming to have epilepsy. There was a big fallout between him and Frank, and then the shooting occurred a couple of years later, whoever was responsible for it. But the thing is, he said to me, well, we did an evening with Terry Marsh a few years ago, and he said he was never intending to be a world champion and never imagined he ever would be. He said initially he wanted to become an officer in the because he'd been in the Marines, but he needed to do something, like he needed to get some qualifications. So he joined the fire service and he enrolled at college, and he figured he'd just do professional boxing because he was a good amateur. He won the ABA championships 3 times. He should have gone to the 1980 Olympics, but they picked someone else who he'd beaten. So anyway, he said he was just going to go and earn a few quid while he was, studying to become an officer and in the fire service. Then he he kept winning, won the British title and thought, well, I better stick with this then. Then he won the European title, and then he thought, well, I'll keep going. And the next thing you know, he's world rated, and he wins the IBF title, beating that guy Joe Louis Manley, who you'll be familiar with, I'm sure, because he was he should have been on that 1980 Olympic team too, right? Joe Louis Manley from. But it was interesting how he said he never ever imagined he'd become a world champion, and it certainly wasn't what he was about or what he was planning on doing. It just sort of happened. I just thought I'd throw that little anecdote in, really. But.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah, a lot of an anecdote. Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe that. Listen, I think it's going to be a great fight. It's worth it. I think it's going to be worth the money.
Okay. Well, we can come back to that, of course.
Canelo, yeah, we'll come back to that.
Canelo looks like there's been various rumors and claims over the last week or two, but it looks like he's going to fight Haney Munguia on May the 4th.
The KO kid?
Yeah, the Mexican kid who just beat John Ryder.
And how did he beat him? He KO'd him?
Stopped John Ryder, yeah.
Yeah. He's the kid that had like the first, like a whole bunch of first round knockouts, right? And then he lost that fight. He has one loss.
No, that you're thinking of Edgar Berlanga, I think.
Oh yeah, Berlanga. That's what I'm thinking.
Because the reason you're thinking that is because Berlanga's name was also in the mix and still is in the mix. Supposedly Canelo, because he's left PBC, right? Because they haven't got enough money to pay him. PBC, having been bounced off of Showtime, folded, didn't they? So they're going to go on Amazon Prime. Their first card on Amazon Prime is Tim Tszyu versus Keith Thurman. That's Heyman's outfit, right? Oh, wow. Canelo has parted with them, mutually agreed, because they apparently have not got the money to pay his $35 million guarantee. So now it looks like he's going back to the zone and back to Eddie Hearn. Canelo. Wow. This is. Now, supposedly, Canelo wanted to fight Berlanga in May, and he said Munguia in September. But apparently, they want it the other way around. It looks like they may have won the argument. According to Dan Raphael, it looks more likely that they're very close to signing the Munguia fight. But as you know, Silk, fans want him to fight David Benavidez. Most of them.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And why do you think that's not happening?
Well, see, this is the funny thing, Silk, because most people say, oh, because he's ducking him, he doesn't want the smoke. Oh, God, I can't stand that phrase either. But that's what they say. They say he doesn't want to share the ring with a virile young assassin like David Benavidez at this stage of his career. It's risk-reward, etc., etc. But there's other people who rubbish that claim and say, listen, Canelo's got one of the finest resumes in modern boxing, and he's fought everybody. And you don't fight Golovkin 3 times, and you're scared of David Benavidez. Yeah. So what do we think? What are we to think?
That's a good matchup. Who do you see winning that fight?
Benavidez and Canelo.
Yeah.
I would have fancied Canelo, probably still do fancy Canelo, but I remember watching Canelo versus Charlo with you, which is still his last fight, right, back in September, with you in Atlantic City. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about how predictable and by numbers and underwhelming Canelo was circa 2023. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, is it the right time now for somebody of Benavidez' stamp who is young and aggressive and a great combination puncher? Will Canelo be too good and too wise and just too seasoned, or has Canelo slipped a little bit? And is
I
he
think
ready
what
to
Canelo,
Canelo?
personally, I think what Canelo does now, he hits hard enough that he hits somebody, he puts him in check, and then just goes about his business like Mayweather used to do that. And there's a lot of fighters that all of a sudden it's like, they'll do that. They'll hit you hard enough to put you in check, to teach you to stay in place. If you stay in place, it doesn't have to be rough. You can go the distance with me. But if you start trying too hard, like Roy Jones did that as well, if you start trying too hard, you're going to get knocked out. But you know what I mean? If you just play along, if you just toe the line and stay in your space, you stay in the spot, you know what I mean? Don't start reaching too much, because then there's going to be a problem. I think Canelo is in that stage now. Like he doesn't want to have to work too hard anymore. So he'll do just what he has to do. Going the distance isn't a problem for him. He'll do that as long as the other guy doesn't try to get too brave. If he gets too brave, there's going to be a problem.
So maybe that's what he feels about Benavidez. When he look at fights, he thinks, I could fight this guy Berlanga and I'll deal with him.
Yeah.
Like so.
And the thing is, Benavidez is definitely going to get out of line. So that's definitely going to happen. Benavidez is not going to come in there to just, stay in his place. He's going to try to take Canelo out. He's going to try to hurt him. And so Canelo has to be ready for that, which I believe he will be. And I believe he has obviously he has a counterpunching ability to get to the kid, whereas these other guys he's fought do not. But Canelo does have the chin, the resiliency, and the intelligence to get to him and to get to him consistently. And that is what makes this fight interesting. I mean, you look at him, and he's not like, you just see so many holes in being like, you can hit him. He can be hit and he can be hurt. But the thing is, the guys he's fighting haven't been able to get through that, because the kid moves his hands really well. Benavidez moves his hands really well. He can throw any punch at any time. But he has definitely got a leaky, that defense is leaky if it's strong enough offense.
Yeah. So that's the thing with Canelo. The plan looks like it won't be. He won't be fighting Benavidez. Benavidez already has an alternative path mapped out, because the likelihood is he will face Alexander Vorjik, the guy that lost to Beterbiev in 2019, and that will be for. I mean, I hate this, and I know Iceman John Scully was very vitriolic about this, but they'll be fighting for the interim WBC light heavyweight belt, which will basically give him mandatory status to fight the winner of Beterbiev Bivol. So that looks like the direction that Benavidez is going to go in at 175, assuming he doesn't hit the Canelo jackpot. And as I say, Canelo appears to be going in the direction of Munguia in May and Berlanga in September, which you wonder how many more years.
Resistance. But the fact that he's going to, I mean, if he's going to have 2 fights this year, that's pretty big.
He fights twice every year. Yeah. He fights in May and September.
Yeah, I mean, not very many guys do even that, right? How many champs fight twice a year?
I can't believe we've got to a stage where we're congratulating people for fighting twice a year, especially someone from your era. I mean, you're actually saying, I thought you were going to castigate him for only fighting twice a year. You said, oh, that's kind of an upside. He's coming out twice this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a different game now. You know what I mean?
How many times a week does Gary Stretch work at the minute? Can we ascertain? By the way, on the subject of fighter inactivity. How many podcasts does Gary do? Does he do them all, or just once a week?
Yeah.
I spoke to him earlier today, and he was on for it. He was fine. He had this plan. He wanted to talk. He was on TalkSport recently, Gary, and he believes that Josh Taylor beat Jack Catterall. Everybody else thinks Catterall was robbed. So he was getting a lot of stick for what he said on there. People saying, "Oh, he should have gone to Specsavers and all the rest of it."
Yeah, Catterall was definitely robbed. Yeah.
Okay, so Gary said to me tonight, because he was on TalkSport, and he was fab on TalkSport, by the way, but because he was on it, and loads of people were saying, how can he say that Taylor won that fight? He said we should expand on that momentum, and we should ask him about it again tonight. And we could have a frame for a bit of content where we'd say Gary Stretch responds to criticism over, Taylor analysis. But where is he? That's what I ask.
Yeah, you know what? Your guess is as good as mine.
He's in Bulgaria. I'll guess that much.
Oh, he is.
He's in Bulgaria. Yeah, I know that much.
Oh, I didn't know that. So he's back from LA.
Yeah, but he was in London more recently as well. He was in London last week. He only left on I think it was Monday.
Well, listen, I know that I'm going to have to be leaving soon, but before we go there, I know it's been a while since we've discussed it, and I want to make sure we get back on it because with the fights coming up, there's a few good fights coming up, right?
Yeah.
And,
well, you've got Joshua. I mean, I don't know how good a fight's going to be, but you have Joshua is out this time next week, next Friday. Joshua and Ngannou unfolds, but you've got Joyce. You've got Zhang and Parker on the undercard as well.
Yeah, and we're gonna like right now we're going to actually like bet on those fights, right?
Well, I would have thought we'd do that Sunday night because it's
we'll do it Sunday, and hopefully our man will be there.
Yeah, because otherwise he's gonna lose the chance to get more points in this incredibly. The winner takes it all. It actually says, well, you've actually got an ABBA song. I'm gonna have to. When you know what's gonna happen, right? Right now, there's nothing I can do about you. You're a wild card and you're ungovernable. But when this blows up and everybody's on contracts and salaries, I'm going to bring you into line, and you're not going to be allowed to do things like that anymore. Like these captions, this anarchy.
Anarchy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay, all right. I mean, I'm willing to play by the rules, but I think it's just important that. We should be allowed our creative processes. We should be able to express ourselves the way we did. And I'm sorry Gary's not here today because I kind of wanted to explain to you guys how this kind of goes. You know what I mean? Like I'm right now. What's my record? I'm sorry. Tell me again. I forgot.
You are 9-3.
9-3, and you are
10-6.
10-6. Oh my God! And Gary is
9-4.
9-4. Okay. So that right now, if we were to stop, that would make me what?
It would make you, I believe we said it was the first to 10. So let me think. No, it would make you the winner. And I
okay. Hold that thought right there. Hold that thought right there. That would make me the winner. So I just want to, this is such a point. I don't want to talk. If it makes you both feel sad. You hear that?
Oh, here he goes again.
And I understand that I've come to shake your hand. Now, I apologize if it makes you both feel bad. Mm-hmm. Seeing you so tense, and both of you with no self-confidence. But you know what?
We need some guitar.
The winner takes it all, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have known that song was written like what, 35 years ago?
And all this time.
And it was waiting for this moment to be revealed. I mean, I'm beside myself. This song brings
I never realized. I think ABBA have got to be one of the most kind of visionary bands ever when you look at the just the aptness of those lyrics. So they can't really have been talking about anything else, can they? Julian said, by the way, why aren't we scoring on percentage? He said that's how it should be. He said because the reason why I've done more predictions, Julian, is because I've made more shows than the two of them. There've been shows where we haven't had Michael, and there've been shows where we haven't had Gary, but we've always had me, with the exception of one show you did with Jesse James later. So, So he's saying we need to do a percentage, to if you want to be pedantic. You probably still come out on top. I'd have thought.
I mean, would it be? How different would it be?
Well, we've got 12 predictions, 16 predictions, and 14 predictions in total. So we need a statistician to tell us who's actually getting the. He's right. It's a percentage. It's not about the numbers. It's not just about the. We need to do it on percentage. There's a lifeline there. The records again. So okay, Julian, ready? I am 10-6. Let that register. Michael is 9-3. Gary is 9-4.
And I would still percentage-wise be the champ.
surely, based on my rudimentary knowledge of mathematics, you're okay for now. But this is the way we should do it forever. So that could change. That could change in a different way.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, have you ever considered yourself? Maybe you should be a boxing judge, because boxing judges are able to do that. Like they can flip the script and kind of change scores the way they want it to read. I mean, this is our understanding at the top. Our understanding at the top was like, okay, what? Your record is 10-3. It doesn't. I mean, I don't know if it really matters what your percentage is. It's just the numbers. Like I have more wins, and whether or not
I think. But I'm going to tell him the records again because he wants me to tell him again. But quickly, no, I think he's got it now. 10-6, Ben 9-3. Okay, Saj has done that. I think you should be a judge because I can picture it now, right? Judge Dave Moretti scores the fight 116-110. Judge Lisa Giampa scores the fight 118-111. Judge Michael Sokolaji Jr. hasn't scored the fight, but he knows who won. And he knows better than they do, or anyone. That'd be good, right?
Yeah. No, but if I'm there, I absolutely score it, and I've been extremely.
We're gonna have to next time.
And Ben, please, Ben, don't forget. There's at least 2 of those 3 losses I called just out of because I was
trying to give us a chance.
I was being the contrarian to you guys. So really, if I would have picked the way I wanted to pick, I would have maybe 1 loss.
Oh yeah, now we're getting into the if. Okay, so you got 66% in the real world. So that's you, 66%. Julian's working out the rest of them, so you can't go till we get there. What was I going to say? Next time we hang out in real time in the flesh, let's score a fight. Let's take a fight and score it, and that'd be interesting. That'd be a good Maybe we could film it.
Yeah, let's do that, and let's pick a controversial fight.
Like Haney Lomachenko, even.
Yeah, that's a good one. And we'll give our round by round analysis and see who won. Absolutely.
There you go.
I like that. But until then, I mean, I think it's going to be exciting. Like there's some, I like this fight between the 2 young lions, and I like it's going to be interesting to see, I know he's a kickboxer, MMA fighter and stuff like that, but Ngannou, it's still going to be interesting to see, how and if Anthony Joshua could take him apart the way he should be able to.
Yeah, well, do you know what, Michael? I saw Frank Lotierzo talking on Facebook today, and he said he fancies Ngannou. He says, I'm genuinely worried because he'd like Joshua to win as a boxing loyalist. I think most boxing loyalists would, because it says something very damning about the game. I think if Ngannou wins, but he thinks that's going to happen. He thinks Joshua is too fragile, too hesitant. The other guy's too confident, too much of a big puncher, full of confidence, nothing to lose.
Ngannou does have something to lose, and Ngannou. You see, here's the thing: he isn't like a circular puncher. He himself is still hesitant. He's not going to be. I don't think he's going to know what to do once he first gets touched with that real punch. I really don't. And he isn't the kind of person that when he gets hit, he's going to be able to punch through it. He's not going to be punched like the kid who what's his name, the Latino kid, the Mexican kid who actually. Oh, sorry, Michael, 75%. Thank you, Julian, for correcting yourself.
No, he didn't. He didn't do it. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. So I thought I was 66% for a minute. No,
I'm 75%.
You're 75%. So if I'm 62.5.
That's middling. That's not bad.
But to be fair, the ones I got wrong, I only did it just for fun, for larks. Just
yeah. Well,
that's what you say.
That's easy. That it's already been used. You have to get your own excuse.
Okay.
So I see this guy as I don't see him being able to punch through. To be able to punch through Anthony Joshua's punches. He's not going to be. He can't see underwater when the rain is hitting him in the face. He's not punching through that. He's going to have to wait his turn. He's going to.
Michael froze there a little bit. Might be his Wi-Fi connection. Apologies for that. He might have to log out now and count himself back in. Gary is 69. How I wish Michael was still here. How apt is that? Gary turns out to be 69. Michael would have had something to say about that if he wasn't frozen cryogenically as we speak. Maybe somebody called him. Maybe he's called his phone. If somebody can make a comment on the YouTube stream so I know that it's only Michael that's frozen and that I'm still talking to a live audience, that'd be great. Because right now he's completely shut down. Are people still here? People just, somebody say something just so I know. Francis has nothing to lose in this fight. Somebody say something that he's still tuned in now. So I know we've just lost Michael. Because it's time for me to wrap this show soon. You know what? I'm actually going to do it a certain way as well. Okay, guys. Sorry about the technical issue there, which made us lose Michael right at the end of that live stream. We hope you enjoyed the show. We were back on Sunday night to give you our more extensive preview of Joshua versus Ngannou. I hope Gary Stretch will be present and correct as well, alongside Michael Asukalaja Jr. and myself. Please subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so. I never figured out how much good likes were, but apparently likes are important too, so go ahead and like us. In the meantime, we're lucky. Keep punching.